Cara ma good las Ciancorla ta Ahasorm Lorcher and Rune Shaw and you. And I want to begin by acknowledging a few positives and being as constructive as I can, but I also need to be honest and point out where the failures are of this plan, which I voted against in 2018 because of my concern for rural communities. I acknowledge that there is some scope and ambition, but we need ambition and we need a sustained focus on the rollout of national, regional and local infrastructure, not least the National Broadband Plan. Only a few weeks ago I was contacted by a company in Laois, in a rural village that employs 30 people. They were told that they have to pay thousands of euro to a company if they want high-speed broadband or wait until 2024. Now I think that's shameful. It needs to be called out. This government claimed to be, trying to advocate for rural communities and investment and job creation. But how are we to do that if we don't have the bare basics in place? And if we're punishing small businesses and companies by telling them to pay thousands in order to get in high-speed broadband when everyone else can get it in the city as part of an essential and a basic service. So I'd just like to ask for some action in terms of rural communities and the lack of broadband. There's a lot of black spots, and I don't think it's good enough or it's acceptable that we should have to wait much longer than everywhere else. We should be treated the same. There needs to be the same balance and the same fairness. So I'd advocate for that, please. And also, policies need to be rural-proofed. And I don't believe that Project Ireland was rural-proofed. And I remember bringing forward a motion some time ago on the rural proofing and the importance of rural proofing any policy or government agenda. And I think that's where we're falling down a lot of the time. We need fairness for rural communities. Rural planning and zoning is a huge issue of concern also. There's people in rural Ireland that were brought up in rural Ireland and have children who they want also to attend the local school in the area, and they can't get planning. I mean, it's just shameful. But yet this government talks about depopulation in the programme for government. But depopulation is easy solved if you be fair with the people and the families of rural Ireland and allow them and support them in their efforts to build homes in rural communities. I know that I welcome the desire to ensure that investment will be directed and a more equal balance of growth between Ireland's three regions. But the objective is that these three regions should grow at a broadly comparable rate, and this isn't happening. I mean, if we want to look at the Midlands and the so-called just transition, it's not a just transition, and I've said that time and time again. There was no alternative employment given to our region in the Midlands. None whatsoever. We were fooled with this whole transition plan. The transition plan is taking place over a few months as opposed to a 10-year plan, which would have been fair. But because this government has decided to steamroll that through without alternative employment, it means that many livelihoods and many people are left high and dry, and that's going to have a devastating impact on rural communities and on the local economy. And coming at a time when we're in the midst of a pandemic and following Brexit, I think it was shameful of this government not to hold back and not to make sure they had alternative employment for many people in the Midlands who face job losses. And I know County Offaly is facing the biggest brunt of the job losses. I'm very concerned, and I would like some more action and meaningful action for government in terms of job creation, because not enough is being done, and I said that all of the time. There should have been a model set up like the Western Development Commission, where policy would be matched by investment, because we're in serious trouble now in terms of employment opportunities. And that's thanks to the grand vision of green policy, which Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil were happy to go along with. But in terms of Project Ireland, as I said, there needs to be focus put on the whole issues of broadband provision and on the issues of planning for rural families that want to reside in rural Ireland. And also, as I say, in terms of zoning, because there's many businesses who would dearly love to set up in rural towns. They can't do so because of the zoning laws. So I would ask for those issues to be looked at and for meaningful action, because rural Ireland has been left behind, and we need to see meaningful action from this government in order to believe that they are genuine about trying to achieve balance in terms of our regions.